That is fascinating, Danny. And if I might, I want to. This is a perfect place for me to interject some numbers here, some research that
Uh-huh.
totally underscores what you were talking about in terms of having an open-minded attitude towards the
Mm-hmm.
existence of this larger whole. And specifically, what I'm talking about is some new research that was just published by glocalities.com, which was undertaken from December 2015 to February 2016. It's the largest research of its kind about attitudes towards extraterrestrial life. Now, they covered
Uh-huh.
24 countries, 15 languages, um, and a lot of major countries: China, U.S., USSR, or not USSR, Russia, um, India, Indonesia, Europe, whatever, so that a broad range of cultures, societies, belief systems was included in this research, which was, I think, about almost 25,000 people. So to fast forward to the bottom line and to the relevance of what you were just talking about, they asked many questions, but the major question that caught my attention was the one that said, how many of you believe in alien civilizations, that they exist out there? And this was not the question about just microbes, that there might be something microbial
Right.
life,
Right.
but
Right.
alien civilizations. 47%, almost half of the respondents, and these were adults ages 18 to 65, said, yes, we believe alien civilizations exist. The follow-on question of that group of 47% said, well, should we communicate with them? 60% of those 47% said, why, yes. Now, if you use those percentages and then go to world population statistics, which I did some, follow-on research, and applied their percentages of what I was just talking about to the population of the adult population of the world during the time, the 3-month study that this was done, from December 2015 to February 2016. I applied the percentages to the adult population and came up with a staggering number. If you're to extrapolate and believe what they just did is truthful and accurate, the staggering number of 1.3 billion adults across the world who believe that alien civilizations exist and that we should communicate with them. Now, of course, there's another sizable chunk that probably don't believe or maybe are afraid and don't want to contact. But the basics of this is we're not alone. Most people believe we're not alone in the universe. And for those of us humans who believe that we're maybe the only ones and 10 of our friends that believe in extraterrestrial life, it's just not true. There's 1.3 billion adults that share the very specific view that we should be communicating with these civilizations. That's a lot of company, and that really underscores what we're doing in the ET Let's Talk community, as well as other ET contact communities that are out there, and that we're accepting these beliefs and we're going about the business of making the communication through the techniques that we've been teaching people, and actually putting the pedal to the metal, the rubber to the road there of reaching out and becoming cosmic humanity, because 1.3 billion people is a lot of company to have. And I might add, in closing my little spiel here, is that these were adults, and many of those adults have children, have neighbors, co-workers, friends, and family whom they influence, so that their open-minded attitude about extraterrestrial life gets communicated to children, gets talked about with neighbors, and opens up some other minds. So my point is that 1.3 billion number of supporters of what we're doing is likely a higher number than that because of the influence, the ripple-on effect that those people have. So I wanted to get that out there. And for people who are interested in the research, it's glocalities.com, glocalities. It's like the word localities with a G in front of it, glocalities.com. I highly recommend reading it. It's exciting research, and something that even I, who've been doing this for many years, never expected was such a potentially large number. Anyway, thank you for letting me say that, and I felt it was the perfect follow-on to how
Okay,
you
great.
were You were talking
Yeah,
about
right.
the consciousness. This is about consciousness.
Yep.
There's a larger accepting consciousness on planet Earth than any of us ever believed before numbers like this were presented to us. So now, talking about consciousness and things changing and enlarging, our next question is a nice follow-on to that, which is, how shall we best assist the evolutionary impulse to return to being and expressing sacred love?
Yeah. Well, I've said this before. I think that the various methodologies that have been pointed out to us by evolved beings down through the centuries is available for us. And that is meditation, a proper diet, proper exercise to keep your body healthy, studying to be familiar with the role of the chakras in the body, the elevation of the chi energy in our body. All of these things that are traditionally understood to be spiritual practices are the primary way of accelerating the evolution of our human consciousness on an individual level. And I believe that the putting out of that type of higher frequency energy through our own bodies into the universe actually elevates the vibrational frequency of the environment. And it, just like being in the physical presence of an adept, increases, accelerates the vibrational frequency of other people's energy envelopes, the bioplasma around the body. I mean, it sounds a little pedantic, but it's true. And so I believe that this is the most important set of disciplines that we can engage in, and that's number one. Number two, of course, is the attempt to ascertain and articulate from that ever elevating level of consciousness what type of principles would govern our individual and collective conduct. And this is the translating of spiritual consciousness into norms. A particular a norm by means of which you can determine normative values for what's right and what's wrong, what's consistent with the unitary phenomenon in the universe. That second step of, in addition to increasing mystical experience itself, the additional phenomenon of trying to translate that into ethical principles, and then thirdly, try to responsibly and constitutionally translate those ethical principles into specific types of legislation, being completely respectful of the rights of individual liberty and the other issues that are set forth as natural law principles in our Constitution and Bill of Rights and writings on natural law. It's a three-step process, but it's rooted in the stimulation and the facilitation of the rising consciousness in individual human beings.